Hello, everybody. I am back, and what a time to return. Today's Alice and Chill is going to be one for the books. Today, we are welcoming in a new community of listeners. So, for anyone who hasn't met me yet, I am Sharina, the creative producer of My Neighbor Alice. So, thank you so much for joining me today for what is going to be one of our most epic episodes of Alice and Chill Open Mic to date. So, since the last open mic a couple weeks ago, a lot has happened for M&A. In case you haven't seen it yet, our logo received a royal refreshment. Alice is growing, so it's only fitting that our logo grows as well. And not only that, but we also announced a major partnership with a very distinctive, very visually striking NFT brand in the Web3 space, Persona. I know. So, welcome the Persona community and all the listeners that are here. This is such a special episode. And I'm so extremely excited to chat about this M&A Persona collaboration with a couple of very special guests. So, with that being said, let's bring them in. Our first guest needs no introduction. She's a veteran to open mics. We all know her, we all love her, and her beautiful creative mind. She's M&A's narrative lead, Lorraine. Hello.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me back again. I'm becoming a regular here, it feels. So I'll just do a quick introduction. I'm narrative lead, so I help with the narrative direction of the game. It's everything related to story, world building, the characters that you love in the game My Neighbor Alice, which since we have like a new community, I'll just remind a little bit of what this is. It's a social builder game that is fully on chain and where you can gather resources and craft and meet your friends and your neighbors.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lorraine. I'm so happy to have you here. I'll have you here every episode if you'd like because I love having you here. And next is our second guest. Is someone I've been patiently waiting to see grace our open mic stream, so I'm so happy. He is not only a game designer, a creative director, a true visionary, and the founder of Persona. Please welcome Spike to your first open mic. Welcome.
Hello guys, hello. Thank you for having me. Super nice to be here. I love the format, so it's really cool.
Yes, we're so excited to have you here. So thank you for joining us. It's truly monumental. So thank you both for being here. This is our first open mic with an external guest. So of course there will be many more to come, but I'm so happy, Spike, that you could be the very first one to grace our stage.
I didn't know that. Honored
I
to
know.
be the first one.
I know, right? So exciting. So Spike, since you are new here, maybe you can give a little bit of an intro for the listeners that are meeting you for the very first time today.
Yeah, for sure. I'll try to not digress too much because I can I can give often too long intros. But yeah, I'm Spike Persona. I'm the founder and creative director behind Persona, a cool NFT collection. If you don't know it, that has been released for almost a year now, actually more than a year. It's inspired by retro anime, and our goal is to innovate in the space and use the latest innovations from Web3 AI to craft a new kind of brand through storytelling, through different mediums as well. So we've been doing that for the last year, and we're also super excited to partner with different brands in order to expand our own IP. And super happy about the partnership we're doing with Alice because it goes exactly in that direction.
Thank you so much. Yes, we're so excited to be partnering with you as well. I did some looking into the background of where you came from, and the journey of Unagi Games has been quite an interesting one to date.
Yes.
Because all the founders are executives from Ubisoft, which is one of the largest gaming studios in the world, and you all left because of this crazy thing called blockchain and the idea of decentralized gaming, which clearly piqued your interest. So you founded Unagi Games and developed Ultimate Champions football and basketball, but you didn't just stop there. when I was looking into this, I saw that you were really able to spot a real need in your community for people who were looking for something more relatable and something that spoke to interest just beyond ultimate champions. And instead of just ignoring that need, you guys really leaned into it and you created the beautifully crafted Persona brand, which is something that really speaks to the Web3 brand as well as the Web2 community. And it's now one of Unagi's biggest brands. The thing that I love about this is that you create with intention and you're not just creating to create. And I feel like that is so important because you have a bigger picture in mind, you have a bigger vision in mind, you're working towards, you've hit that with Persona because not only were you creating an NFT brand, but you created it with the idea of interoperability in mind. And that is why we're here today. So that is the exciting part. I just wanted to dive in a little bit to explain what that is for people that are here that might not know what interoperability is, because I can tell you when I got into this space, I had no idea what it was, so I taught myself. But interoperability is essentially the ability to use your NFT across multiple platforms instead of just being confined to one space. And it represents true ownership, giving power back to the people by letting you carry your NFT along with its identity and lore into new environments without needing to repurchase or recreate it. Once you own it, it's yours to use wherever interoperability is supported. And that is truly the importance of this collaboration. And that is why M&A is so passionate about it. And it is the space that we are creating for NFT brands to seamlessly be a part of. So I know that you have talked about seeing a meta where Web3 games will want to enlarge their ecosystems by inviting more brands into their spaces instead of confining one NFT brand to that space specifically, which can really, I find, block like additional communities and creative minds from entering the space to help expand horizons. And it's really all about providing additional utility to PFPs and NFT brands. So I can imagine when Lorraine brought this potential collaboration to you, it was probably pretty exciting. So I would love to hear from you, Spike, where your vision of creating an interoperable NFT brand came from, why it's so important to Unagi, and what your initial thoughts were when the idea of collaborating with M&A came knocking at your door.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's completely true that interoperability is one of the promise that made us start in Web3 from classic video game productions. For me, I saw this as a good opportunity. I mean, Web3, I saw two components to it. Interoperability was one of them, and also trying to create new kind of economies with true ownership and something that could a bit replace free-to-play on the long run. Admittedly, that part is going to take a lot more time, but but we still have some interesting games and examples that push that cursor, which is super nice. And yeah, interoperability, it's one of the things where if we continue towards that future of more interoperable characters, items, things between games and between Web3 products, the more we do, basically, the more we get closer to that promise. And from, I think, a consumer perspective, it's really awesome to think that, okay, I can have this in this world and then this in the other world. The thing is, it's very hard in Web3, and why it takes so much time, because you need, I think you need two things. You need first aligned incentives for two projects to collaborate and to get there. I think Persona and Alice is a very good example of that. I think we're like super aligned in terms of brand values, in terms of what we craft, so it makes total sense. And then the second part that is a bit harder is also to have the manpower and the content in order to have those interoperable components, basically. So sometimes it can be from typically with the nature of our partnership, which is super interesting. It's about incorporate. I don't want to spoil everything because I guess we will that progressively in the
We have
stream.
40 minutes left.
Yeah, I'll pace myself. No, but I think, yeah, just in terms of the promise of what it is for video game development and product game development, I think it's definitely one of the key pillars that make it exciting to build in Web3. I think AI is also, I don't want to digress too much on AI for too long, but I think it's also enabling us to have this a bit more. because with Web3 we already had the possibility to have interoperable items with ownership that stays across products, right? But again, what we lacked a bit is the ability to maybe have more components, more products that we could easily also plug from this product to this product. And I think with AI and the fact that now we can produce at a slightly faster rate with agents that we could also imagine like coexisting in between products, I think there is also something there that might kickstart the second phase of Web3 interoperability and actually make it happen a lot more. But in the meantime, it's also a matter of just mixing brand worlds, and I think that's what we're doing here, and it's very, very interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, yeah. Like, how was it when you and Lorraine like first started just chatting about ideas? I mean, maybe Lorraine, you can speak to this too, but you started speaking to us about Persona like a while ago, and it's very clear why we're partnering with them, because just like Spike said, our vision, our mission, like our brands are very, very aligned. So Lorraine, I want to know how you were able to identify that so early on, and then what some of those like early conversations with Spike were like.
That's a good question. Yeah, I guess that like when I looked into Persona, I really liked for me, it was really clear the storytelling element and how it was important into this whole aspect of Web3. And that's something that like I feel very sensitive about, I guess, is this thing of, okay, when you make something, it needs to have meaning. And you could really see that like with Persona, it was crafted with care. There was this idea of like empowering the people that own Persona to show this self-expression and so on. And yeah, I guess that like just to continue, because you talked about interoperability, and yeah, that's like a super interesting topic on that, is that I can really see that like Persona has this very strong community of people that really believe in the value of it and so on. And the thing that I can connect with interoperability with is how communities actually work and evolve. So you have communities that build around interest and a theme and so on, but then you actually need to have a space for them to keep evolving and to keep gathering. And sometimes it's a physical space. In this case, it's more of a digital space. If we see like how Alice can like bring that, and yeah, keep onboarding brands and that have similar kind of approach and storytelling. And yeah, for me, I can see how Persona and Alice are really close in like some of their value and what they are like, the care that they put into that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. It's funny because like it really is like it's all about adding utility to PFPs. And like when I first got into this industry, like I really didn't even know what an NFT was. And so now when I talk about it to my friends, they're all like, I'll sit there talking to them for like 20 minutes and they're like, Sharina, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm like, it's okay. Open your minds, learn a little bit, like it's oftentimes what I'll have people ask me is like, I'll buy this piece of art, and then what happens after that? And yeah, like I said, I had the same questions, but until I came across Alice and I started working here, because not only are we like really trying to create a warm, cozy game for people to experience, but we're building it with a bigger picture in mind, which is exactly what you did with Persona. Like we want to have a space to provide NFT holders to gain utility for their PFPs rather than just having like a static piece of art. So because it's really all about what you can do with it after the fact. And so here with this collaboration, we're really offering a way for you to express yourself through your PFP and meet other people and create friendships and build relationships in a space that you maybe wouldn't have had the chance to experience otherwise. A space where we want literally you, because it doesn't matter what your background is or where you come from or what you look like. Like we just want you to be able to express yourself through that PFP, bring it into to our game, and feel like you belong, while also bringing something unique into that space. And this is all really driven from community, because I feel like our brands are so, as we really listen to the community and are able to see what the needs are and then apply that into our game, apply that to your brand. And it pushes us further every day to come up with these innovative pieces of technology that allows this to happen, So it really just goes back to power to the people, power to the players, and back to the basis of decentralization, which is why this industry is so fascinating.
Really well put.
Yeah. Okay. I'm so
Completely.
passionate. I love it here.
No, it's absolutely.
Well, one of the things actually that I did want to touch on, Spike, is I was sifting through the Persona platform, and I saw the mangas on there, and like I must have read the Fragments manga, the chapter one, more than a few times, because I feel like it really speaks to you in different ways depending on what you're thinking. But I feel like it directly represents the journey that Nagi and you have been on with your brand. It really represents Alice from the journey that we've been on, because I feel like, you know, life is really what you make it. You can really take it for what it is. You can be content with what you have, or there's another side that's like, what if? So, like, what if there was more? What if you dug a little deeper? What if you pushed a little further? What if you sought out new perspectives and experiences? I crave new perspectives all the time, which is, I think, why I got asked to host Open Mic, because I like to chat. But yeah, like I feel like, you know, it's so much more than just gaming. It's so much more than PFPs. And so one of the characters that I really love, obviously, is Hannah. And you guys have Hannah Studios. So I wanted to touch on that a little bit. I know that you brought up AI already, and you guys are really innovative with integrating the AI in a really cool way with Hannah Studios. I know that M&A is slowly starting to experiment in this area. So this is also another way that our brands are aligned. So I was wondering maybe if you could touch a little bit on Hannah Studios and how you think it's important, or why you think it's important, I should say, that we're pushing AI in this way right now and experimenting with it, because I feel like, you know, in a few years' time, it's possible that we see it across multiple projects in the space.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny what you said about the manga, because it's true that I don't necessarily consider it's not a shonen type of manga, but it's true that you have Anna that has this dream and she wishes there is more and she wants also to go on an adventure. And it's a deep thing that I think connects with a lot of the Web3 values of people being a bit explorers, innovators, and whatnot. Yeah, I think AI, to be fair, we kind of switched our direction as a company and also as a brand in I would say throughout the last year. Because initially, what we did when we left Ubisoft, we started building Ultimate Champions, which was a more classic fantasy football game with a Web3 component and a Web3 economy. And it was really awesome to work on it because we learned a ton about having Web3 economies, which is very important, and a lot of Web3 ropes, let's say. But at the same time, in terms of product, you know, I never felt like it was necessarily creating the product of tomorrow. It was a new kind of economy, additional ownership, but you had similar products, I would say, similar offers on the Web2 spectrums, I would say. And when we launched Persona, we had this. The idea initially was quite simple. We wanted to make Persona one of the biggest entertainment brand over a few years, right? That was the vision. That's where we wanted to be in like 3-4 years. So we started like working on different products. Some that we continue now because it's like very core, and the manga, the story is actually very core because I think storytelling is just too important. In any case, whatever the medium you use to express it is just too important for people to relate and connect with what you're crafting. So the manga, typically, we're continuing, and developing the story, we're continuing. But there are also things we actually stopped and pivoted towards other things because we realized that, we are just trying to do something we could have done either at Ubisoft or without Web3 or without being a startup or without new technologies, right? And I think that was last October that we started pivoting towards a more refined vision where now what we want to, like, if you think about it, we're kind of a startup, like still a young company in Web3 with a fairly agile and flexible and expert team. Like we're perfectly positioned to actually experiment and discover new type of products, new type of games, in my opinion, right? So I think it's very important to fulfill a bit this position and try to craft something new, try to innovate, and not just necessarily redo too much what we could have done outside of Web3, but for Web2, for a Web3 crowd, you know. Yeah, so for the last 8 months, that's what we've kind of been doing, is to first we gathered a lot of expertise around just AI notions in general, how to build AI agents, diffusion models, LLMs, like everything, everything you can imagine around AI. We have the chance that we have our CTO that did some machine learning and was already quite versed into all that, which was really cool. But then the rest of the team also had to level up on some parts of that, which took months, and it's still a process right now. But now we arrive at a moment where we feel confident enough in our knowledge to start building more and more ambitious products. And we started with Anna Agent. Now it's Anna Studios, which is essentially a platform distributing the agents tools, but in a nicer, more traditional manner. And then we want to also explore in games and other type of products that we want to build with agents and with AI in it. And yeah, I think to go back to the beginning of the manga and what we aspire to, I think we're here in Web3 for that, right? We want to explore, we want new adventures, we want to see what new type of things we can build that we couldn't necessarily build without Web3, without new technologies. So for us, it's the same. It's our way to go towards this in a more focused manner compared to before, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the great thing about us being able to collaborate with each other and create this experience with Persona inside of Alice, because it's something that we wouldn't necessarily see before. So I want Lorraine to talk a little bit about the AI that we're experimenting with in Alice and how this might look like for us integrating Hana or AI from Persona into M&A.
Yes, of course. So I guess that like up until now, the use of AI has been more as a writing sidekick, I would say. I mean, I try, like, it's really helpful when you need like help with directions, or like you need to create a visual language for your artist to get to understand a bit more what you actually mean. So yeah, that's what I would say, is like right now it's been limited to that. However, like one of the things that I can see with Persona is, like you described it a lot, Spike, is like all this exploration aspect of things. And I mean, we've seen like Hana being on Twitter, we've seen like Hana Studio and so on. And one of the aspects we can, how to say, like I've been interested into is like, how do you bring Hana more into Lumelunda, knowing that like Hana, as being a figure that everyone knows, can be a connector of this bridge between these two worlds. And I think that this is going to be an interesting experiment for us with Alice and with Persona, to have this done through AI, because Anna has her AI personality. And how are we going to bring her into the game in order to connect these two worlds and create a shared narrative? Because that's also one of the things that like we can see with Web3 and how we can evolve storytelling, is to create these merged narratives. And that's also why we need a lot of compatibility. And we've been expressing this since the beginning onto how our brands are similar on a lot of aspects, is because we need these connectors to bring you this kind of stories. And then we use AI as a tool to enhance this, because that's also one thing that I would say is we should not forget that AI will not replace the creativity. It's we as narrative designer, creative directors, that will have to still come up with all these creative ideas, because I know everyone that has been using AI can see that there's one lazy way of using it, which is like you just ask it something and then it's super random. But when you get actually a bit more active, when you feed it with more stories and more information, suddenly it becomes more interesting, and it actually immerses you, and it can bring this aspect of, I don't know, immersion, I guess, for players in our case. So that's really something that I think we can explore, and something that also from a partnership perspective is interesting, is that we learn from each other, and you in person have this understanding that, and we can learn from each other. So that's, in the end, we are lifting each other up in this collaboration to bring more to the communities in the end. And so that's what I would say through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
About AI.
Just to I think it's exactly that what you said, Lauren. It's more. Of course, we will have AI that will be more part of like some production steps, I would say. But the best things are definitely built with AI and not from AI or by AI directly. You still need for sure that human in the loop. It's an expression we also have on our agent, because on some critical like thinking steps, we still add some human in the loop, because we know that there are moments where you need to have a human input in order to get that soul into it, basically. And yeah, I think definitely, I think created fully by AI is never going to be very interesting, because people, they want to connect to other people, and they need to understand the story, the soul of like of a creation. But definitely also some stuff crafted with some AI in it. I think you can still find that same soul, and that's probably where we're heading on some parts for sure.
Exactly.
And
Go ahead.
And just definitely, like, to continue on that, the same way that I would say you should use blockchain in a certain way, it's the same with AI. It's the same philosophy. It's like, okay, why do we use blockchain in the first place? It's because we can see that this is bringing something more interesting to the game, the world, the community, and so it's the same with AI. And this will also facilitate the acceptance also of it for everyone.
Definitely.
Yes. Sorry, Sherina.
No. Oh my gosh, don't say sorry. I love it when you speak. It's definitely about like enhancing what we already have, right? Like blockchain is enhancing what we've already been experiencing. Like AI is enhancing everything that we've created already with our input. Because you're right, like I just want to highlight this comment that Tassel, our community manager, put in. But it's true, it's like it's not just AI, like you guys said, like something that's just purely AI created and driven, it's never going to be interesting. But if you bring it together with a solid platform and creative ideas, then it makes sense, because we basically collaborating with the AI to help us enhance the experience for everybody. So, I really love that, and I'm so excited to see like what the Persona experience is going to be like in our game, and like see how our brands are going to develop together over the next couple of months, over the next year. Like it's going to be really, really interesting. So maybe we can talk about that a little bit. Maybe we can talk about what the Persona experience is going to look like inside of Alice. So I know maybe Lorraine can touch on that a little bit, but what we were hoping to see when we do end up integrating Persona into Alice.
For sure. I mean, one of the things we talked a lot about in-game integration, of course, and we're starting with something that, well, people know it exists already in the game. It's craftable, it's equipable. So I guess that we will start with building equipables for that. I don't know, Sherina, do you want to like display a little bit like what we will do?
Yeah.
In terms of visual at this stage.
Let's see if I can put this in properly. Yeah, so definitely, like you said, this is something that we've created, which is a awesome Persona hoodie.
Really cool.
So these are just an example of what some of the wearables will look like in game, and of course, there's so much more. We're I don't want to give too much away, but I mean, if the Persona community is here, our Alice community, go take a look if you haven't seen it yet. But your NFTs are crazy. There's so many things involved. The prismatic collections are nuts. So just expect great things from some of the wearables that we're going to have in there. What other types of things are we going to have aside from wearables, Lorraine?
So to keep on the idea of bringing the community value into the game, so here through your wearable, you can express that you're from Persona. You will also be able to emote. So for the community here, we have the capacity in game to emote, like to have emote on our avatars, and the possibility to have a little image on the top of your head. So we'll be integrating the Persona Chibi ones. I don't know, Spike, maybe you want to fill me in on that. But yeah, we've seen some very cute like images. So, well, still to explore, but that's one of the things that we're looking into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just about to say, excited about that. It's true. We're exploring more and more how we can translate a bit the brand into different formats, and that's one of them where we've been exploring more. And yeah, I think it's going to be a good fit. I'm excited to see that in Alice.
Yeah.
Do you call Alice more M&A or Alice? I have this question since the beginning.
I think yeah, either or. I don't know, Lorraine, what do you think? You're our narrative lead, so let's hear it.
So if we say Alice or Alice?
Do you say
Alice
more?
Sorry, because
M&A.
sometimes I have a bit of delay in my connection.
No worries. I was wondering if you call Alice more Alice straight up or M&A for My Neighbor Alice. Because for me, I always say Alice, but
we say Alice.
You say Alice as well. Okay, cool. I'll continue doing that too then.
That actually, I'm glad that you bring that up, Spike, because Lorraine and I were talking just yesterday about like how main characters are so important. And, you know, when we touched on Hannah already, but we didn't touch on Alice. And so this kind of does bring me into the next point that I did want to talk about, which is our stories and how our stories and the lore is really connected between our brands, and that really does start from our main characters with Alice and Hannah. So, you know, Lorraine, maybe do you want to go into that connection between the two of them a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we were talking about yesterday, actually, sharing.
Oh, right on the cusp.
Yeah, it's a cliffhanger.
There's some juicy details that are coming.
The next episode is to get the.
Yeah. Well, maybe while we're waiting for Lorraine, maybe Spike, tell me a bit about your the vision behind creating Hannah in the first place and why she's such a prominent figure for Persona.
Yeah, I mean, it's true that, but I think it's part of the storytelling of the brand. It's true that having a strong main character, for us, Hannah is almost a bit too strong, where we do want to introduce new additional strong characters in the story, and that's the plan for in the manga and for the upcoming months. But it's true that having one strong character, it's a bit like a founder, you know, versus your brand. I think a strong main character that you embody really well will also make people connect to your story more. Exactly like founder and brand. When that's why we call the founder funnel, and people love having founders like just share their visions and whatnot. It's because people relate to it a lot more than just brand tweets all the time, I think. I think it's the same for the main character. Like when you think of Dragon Ball, you think of Goku. When you think of Naruto, well, you think of Naruto. It's the name of the the name of the story as well. But it does that really well, and it's true that for us, Hannah has been an amazing storytelling. I don't want to say tool because it makes it more of it, but it's true that she's been an amazing storytelling element that we pushed very earlier on, and then she became so central because the story is resolved around her, and now we even like develop products. Well, it's by persona, of course. And actually, we had to add the by persona because we forgot. It's supposed to release tomorrow, and we realized this morning that we forgot to even write persona on the website. But Hannah Studios. Yeah. But for example, Haya Studios, it's almost her own brand, or own like product line. So, and yeah, also transforming her as an agent. Well, it's been really challenging, and we still have to learn a lot to make her more personalized, to improve how she interacts with others, to make her evolving also in an interesting fashion over time. It's stuff we're learning and improving as we go. But in a similar fashion, it's such a powerful promise, you know, to have her also there on top of in the manga, on top of in Alice, like in between those different mediums. Yeah, it's just really cool and really cool way to tell the story. But it's also because this main character is so established, at least in our community, that we can do that, I think. Because then it becomes an easy thing. An easy character we can bring in places, and then people will be like, oh yeah, that's Hannah from Persona. Well, hopefully when we're both famous.
Exactly. That's exactly what's going to happen. Perfect. I love that explanation. It really sums up like why these lead characters, these main characters, are really important for brands and for storytelling, because I find that like there are a lot of brands in the NFT space that don't really put a huge emphasis on storytelling. So I always like to bring it back to that, because really, like, something that I always say is like storytelling is the basis of like it's the foundation for our world. Like, we need it, and it creates these really, like, unimaginable experiences for people through specific brands. So now that we have our girl back, do you want to touch on a little bit about Alice and how she connects to Hannah?
Yeah, sorry for my connection dropping. I feel that also Spike said everything when it comes to like how characters are super important, and so it's okay to care of everything regarding that. Yeah, but I mean, I think that this is mainly what I had to say in a nutshell. It's like how it is so interesting also how we can connect our two characters in that aspect. And yeah, I guess that like bringing Hannah in this, or like I don't know, I'm super curious about how Alice and Hannah could be friends, actually. I was thinking, because I could see also how this would be a match. So one of the things that I was thinking. Yeah.
Definitely. They're going to become neighbors. Right.
My neighbor Hannah is the sequel.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. She's gonna put her magical touch on everything that's already magical in Luma Lunda. We can't wait. But yeah, I mean, this integration is it's super important, and I want to just touch back again on the interoperable part, because without the community driving us to create these like innovative pieces of technology, we wouldn't get to have your brand in our game. We wouldn't get to experience what it's like, and have a new community come into our game to really like help us create our game, because we really do listen to the community and what they want, and they are the ones that really like tell us, put this thing in, or we want to see this or whatever, and we listen to that and we create it. And so now we're going to have more communities. Persona, of course, there's going to be so many more that come, and they're all going to collaborate together, and we're all creating this really cool world and this really cool space that is non-existent. So what do you guys think is going to happen like over the next, I don't know, let's say 3 years? I don't want to put it too far out there, but we're just touching on all this stuff right now with, Web3, and Web3 gaming is quite new still. So we're all really experimenting. AI is quite new. Blockchain, it's new. Like, I don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 years, but I think that now with this interoperable feature, like, really the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, it's no, absolutely, and I think we are definitely entering an interesting era, because we have a lot more substance, I think, in Web3, especially in Web3 gaming specifically, because some people don't realize, but crafting games is by far the most difficult type of product to craft. But you guys have obviously know, but sometimes it's very opaque for some people to understand like everything that goes into producing a game, especially a game online, a web game, with some 3D, with like everything that, for example, you guys have been building for a couple of years, because it takes years to build this basis to then have the possibility to do interoperability, for example, between our two brands. Like, if you didn't build all that for like so much time, we wouldn't have the platform to actually do that, right? I mean, of course, on our side, we have like some also mediums and products where we can push this interoperability. But it's also a matter of having the substance created, the platforms created, the basis that is there in order to go there. And I think now we see more Web3 games that start being. Well, we see that 99% of the Web3 game promises left the boat, but that's normal. It's because they all promised to produce a AAA game in like 1 year in the last bull run. So those guys, most of them are out. But for the ones that like survived the bear, that kept building, and typically Borealis is a prime example of that. Now we end up at the end of the tunnel with platforms and with like products and with game experiences that we can propose to people. And that's the interesting era we are entering. I think it's again, some more fleshed out products. It outside of just games, of course, but for other products, it's much faster. Again, it's much faster to build a social platform. It's much faster to build a web page. It's much faster to HANA Studios is crazy faster compared to a game as well. But a game takes time, and now we see the first games that are more fleshed out that get released, and it creates this possibility for interoperability. That's why I'm bullish personally on that. And
Me too.
and hopefully we'll have more and more cool game experiences to propose to people here.
Definitely. That's great. That's a great answer. Thank you. Lauren, did you want to add anything to it?
Yeah, because the part of talking about how complex it is to build a game, and especially a Web3 game, I guess we highly relate to that, being in the middle of the storm sometimes. But I guess it's difficult, but it's also a lot of like super cool opportunity to like build this on-chain game, which it makes an interesting ecosystem for multiple brands and partners to also collaborate in this, because I think with the interoperability in mind, you're not just designing for like a closed loop or like just this specific game. It's like you're designing for like a wider ecosystem, and it's a universe that like expands beyond just universe. You have to like integrate other brands, and whether they are like Web2 or Web3 in this case. And so everything has to follow in this. Is the tech, is the design, it's the economy, it's also the narrative. I can speak for that side. Of course, it's you don't design an autonomous world in the same way that you design like a more regular one, I would say. And so this is a lot of like complexity in this, but the possibility that it gives and how it feels like it's going to get to is super, super exciting. So yeah, I can see that, like, hopefully in 3 years, to go back to your question, a lot of this will be more like, we will keep developing. So more and more partners will keep coming in and have this merge stories that we talked about at the beginning. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Just touching back on what I said at the beginning, like, I think that this space is definitely evolving. I think that both of our brands have evolved so well over the course of the last like 4 years or so. Like, we all know what it's like to go through that journey. You go through ups and downs, you hit blocks, and then you have to sit there and try to figure out, how am I going to overcome this challenge? What can I introduce that's going to potentially, create more visibility for my brand, or communicate better with the community, or what can we provide them? Alice started off as just a fishing farming game, and it was even so difficult for us to push the boundaries of the blockchain to get it to that point. And that was like 4 years ago, 3 years ago. I started with the company almost 3 years ago, and when I came on, we were just sorting out the fishing. But now it's like we've created this space, this warm, cozy space, and it's so much about like self-expression and individuality. And now, interoperable NFTs coming in that also tie into this exact same vision. So that is exactly why I'm so excited for this partnership. Also, like Lorraine said, it doesn't just have to do with Web3 brands, like Web2 brands as well. And we've partnered in the past with Elle, which is a Web2 brand. So, we're opening this creative space that we have in Alice up to many different experiences and many different brands that do want to enter in our space. We have so many neighbors that are listening to us today, so many new neighbors, so many old neighbors. So I think that this is truly like, okay, cliche, but this is really us like putting our hand out, our helping hand, and being good neighbors to welcoming all the new neighbors from Persona into our community, to bring your ideas in, to help innovate our game, and just to make this experience like super wonderful. So I'm really, really excited for it.
Awesome. Likewise, for sure. May I ask you guys a question, actually, because I was also curious about something else. Do you see Alice as more of a Web3 game first, and then like good potential to expand, or do you see Alice more as already a game that is nicely tailored for Web3, and of course, by now with partnerships like ours, it's also really great because we create like links between Web3 communities and brands, which is awesome. But you also see already a good potential for a more wider adoption.
I guess that, I mean, one of the objectives of Alice and how we started was this introduction of blockchain to millions of players. So at the end of the day, we want to reach everyone. It's just that, like, because of like how things are built right now and how you first the way that like we started building, I mean, you needed like a million steps to get into the game. You needed an understanding of Web3, of what is a wallet, of how do you buy all the tokens and so on. So I think that at first it was of course more people from the Web3 community would come in, and that's why like it's, I'd say right now it's more of this Web3 game. However, the goal has always been to like get a wider audience, so at the end of the day it should be for everyone, and you shouldn't see the blockchain, it should be seamless, and you should only see the benefits from the gameplay perspective and storytelling perspective that it brings. So in this case, yeah, would be for wider.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I agree. I think like I know that there are some like there are games in the Web3 space that really just own in on having brands, lots of brands in the game. And like that's their main focus. Like with Alice, of course, we want that because we want to join our communities. And Web3, the space, it's not about competing with each other. It really is about uplifting one another and helping each other achieve the same goal. So we work so hard to create the space that we have with all of the lore that Lorraine has built into this game, all of the characters that we put in, all of the assets. They're so uniquely created and tailored to what we would hope that our community wants, because like I said many times before, like we always receive suggestions from them and we really do apply that into our game. But along with that, it's what we create in Alice, it's really inviting and it's open. And like I said, we just want you to come into our game and feel like you belong there. Whether that's with our game or whether that's with the brands that we're integrating as well. And I think that eventually, like as our game continues to evolve, past this year and many years to come, there's going to be a little bit of something for everybody in the game. Which is also something which is interesting. We're going over the time for the live stream now, but I think that, like I was telling Lorraine yesterday, like when I create my avatar inside of Alice, she was saying like how it kind of resembles me, and like for sure it does resemble me, but it's not me exactly. It's my persona. Like it's something that I put into the game that I feel like I can't necessarily embody in real life, so I embody that into the game. And so that's what I love about this project so much, is that it creates that space for you. And then it creates that space for other brands to come in, for the community to come in and really embody this piece of themselves that they might not be getting elsewhere. Now they're collaborating with a different community. Now they're in a completely different space. And when you do that, it opens your perspective and it shifts your mindset to something totally different. So I don't know I think that answers the question, but those are my thoughts as well.
Sure. No, it's really cool it's really cool to get your vision on that. I have the same optics, of course, externally, but same optics that it's definitely like a really cool platform to first gather and then, of course, potentially expand. So yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you know firsthand. I mean, you came from creating the game first and then creating the PFP afterwards. So like, I can imagine that in itself was like a challenge, but you guys have done it with extreme grace and success, and it's amazing. Obviously, your community is super strong. It's beautiful artwork that you guys are creating. So we're really happy to be collaborating with you here.
I second that.
Yes. Well, we are over time, but Spike, I feel it in my heart. This is not the last time I'm going to see you on this open mic.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. I'm glad I opened the first external guest on the stream as well.
Yes. I'm so happy.
Thank you for that.
Happy. Thank you so much. This was definitely a super inspiring conversation. I'm so grateful to have been able to hold this space with both of you today. Like I mentioned, this collaboration with Persona is just the tip of the iceberg for what we have in store for all of you. So I hope that all of you listening, our community, Persona's community, Please continue on this journey with us to experience everything that is to come. Of course, game integration sometimes does take time, but before you know it, Persona will be in Alice and you will be able to express yourself like you have never expressed yourself before. So, any last words from either of you before we sign off?
Lorraine, go for it.
Okay.
So
well, I guess again, thank you for being here, Spike, and also thank you for both our communities for how you guys received the collaboration announcement, because I've been really amazed to see all of the nice comments we received, all the likes, and that's really heartwarming, and this makes us really want to keep building in that space and, well, make this collaboration happen. And thank you, Sharina, for hosting Alice and Chill as usual.
No, and I echo all that. Thank you so much, guys, for that. We're super happy about the partnership. Super happy to keep building together. Yeah, super happy also to join the stream. I hope I'll get another invite sometimes. So really, don't hesitate. I'm never too far.
Definitely. Thank you so much. And thank you for everybody who's tuned in today and who is listening. I will be back next week on Wednesday at 2 p.m. CET for another exhilarating episode of Alice and Chill, open mic, and with me, another super special guest. So thank you all so much again, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.